Hey guys, I'm Steve Freeman. On today's episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast, we are talking to my buddy, Bigg Vinny from the Trailor Choir to The Biggest Loser. We're going to talk about his journey in the music business, his huge weight loss and journey through The Biggest Loser on television, and what he's up to now. You don't want to miss it. All that is straight ahead on today's episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast.
You're listening to the Steve Freeman Podcast, the real, raw truth about the pursuit of success in music, business, and life. Here's your host, hit songwriter, multi-platinum selling producer, and serial entrepreneur, Steve Freeman.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast. So good to have you here. While you're here, don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Rate us 5 stars on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're following me everywhere on social media at The Steve Freeman. And join my inner circle. You can do that at thestevefreeman.com. Get occasional tips and tricks to help you be successful in your music career, in your business, delivered straight to your email inbox. And as always, the podcast brought to you by the Artist Development Academy. Get the information, access, and guidance you need to be successful in the music industry with the Artist Development Academy. Online courses. You learn from the people who have been the most successful in the business. It's just amazing. We're having a blast over there. Go check it out, artistdevelopmentacademy.com. I've been looking forward to this episode for a while now. I've wanted to have Vinny on because I think he is one of the most inspirational people that I've ever come across, from what he did with being successful with the Trailor Choir to then realizing his health was an issue and being almost 500 pounds. He went on the Biggest Loser and did very well, not even from the context of even talking about the show, but I'm talking about the man lost over 200 pounds, almost 300 pounds, and is now healthy, has an amazing family, an amazing growing business. He's got a brand new single out. And so I wanted to have him on the podcast to talk about it. So it is my pleasure to welcome my buddy, Bigg Vinny. Bigg Vinny, it is good to have you here. Thanks for taking out the time, man. There's so much I want to get in with you about today. But first of all, how are you and the family doing with all this self-distancing and social quarantining?
Well, it's kind of funny because having a 2.5-year-old and my wife's pregnant as well, we don't really go out to bars and different things. I mean, about the only thing we really do during the week is we go to the gym every day and then we go out to eat every now and then. So, we're not like out at bars and partying and doing stuff anyway. So it's not a huge difference for us. I think the biggest thing is our gym had to close, so we don't get to train our clients and all that kind of stuff. So, we've definitely lost a ton of money, and of course, with me not being on the road and all that. But as far as the time we're getting to spend together is awesome. The slowdown is actually something that's, our family's already really close anyways, but getting to spend more time with the family and not leaving out on the road every weekend is definitely, it's been kind of a cool thing to be able to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, we've kind of been talking about the same thing around here too, and it kind of feels that way. I was telling somebody a little earlier, I feel a little bit guilty in that, I'm not feeling the effects that a lot of people are feeling. And a lot of people talk about the negative side of the music business. And it's like, however, if you've been doing it right for a little while, some of us are not feeling this impact. And other than, I thought I was a homebody before, and now I'm realizing that I wasn't as much of a homebody as I thought I was, because it's like I realize I don't go out and do a lot, but you can't even go to Target. You can't even just get out. And that's the frustrating part to me right now.
Yeah, and I think with me just being very cautious with having a pregnant wife and
sure
everything, we're definitely taking more precautions than, probably most people our age, which now some of the new studies are showing it's not as different for younger people either. But I don't let her go to the store. Like, I go and get our groceries. I go and make sure that she has what she needs for the baby. And, we're also trying to get our nursery ready and all this other stuff. And it was all things we didn't necessarily just have already.
Right.
So we've been going to I've been going to Bye Bye Baby and other places to pick up some much needed things. So we get ready for this new baby coming in June. So
that's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. I love following you on Instagram. If by the way, if everybody, it's right there on your screen. If you're not following Vinny, you need to. It's at Bigg Vinny Mac. That's 2 G's. no E. It's right there on your screen. Go follow him. I love seeing everything that you're out there doing. And I've become a thing. I don't like the word hustle anymore. I don't like the connotation that it puts out there, but I'm kind of adopting the new word grind. And that's one thing that I appreciate so much about you, is I think in this world that we live in now, if you do not have the ability to constantly reinvent yourself, then you're lost. And that's one of the things that I think, people in the music industry, they want the fame, they want the success, they want all that, but it's all predicated on one single definition. And people put so much into that they don't know how and can't reinvent themselves, even when they get to that point and then start to slip. And the people that are the ones that are really going to stand out. And I'm constantly amazed at how you reinvent yourself, not out of necessity, but out of knowing that this is the next phase of my life and I'm going to transition into that.
Yeah, I think it's growth, as you're growing, as you're changing. I came into this music industry. I wanted to just be a writer. I had no plans of being a performer, entertainer. Never thought I would, kind of do that path. But Butter, he convinced me that I was supposed to do that I wasn't just a writer. Because I thought, well, I'm 450 pounds and I'm, don't look like, everybody else and all that other stuff. And he said, that's what makes you great. And so at 22, we signed that record deal. And so I had to reinvent myself on that, because it's like 22, you got the record deal, you're on tour with Toby Keith, you're doing all these things. Now, wait a second. It didn't quite pop past the, the radio test, as you'd say. So now it's like, okay, how do I now continue to have a career when all that other stuff disappeared? And that was a cool test. And it was a hard test because I was so used to be like, hey, here's your tour bus. Hey, here's the tour with, 60,000 people watching me every night, And so when you go from that to like, okay, now I got to figure it out. I got to go back to the bars. I got to go back to the, the casino boats and things like that. How do I do it? And how do I do that without having the major production around me and all the other stuff? And I really, grinded out and learned how to be a better, acoustic performer and things like that. Took it back to the music, to the song, to the lyrics, because I was known for being this big breakdancing, crazy, entertaining guy. And I still do all that, but it's like, it's kind of cool now that I can sit down with just me and my guitar and stop people on their tracks the same way I did when I was 500 pounds and doing the pop worm and crazy stuff like that.
Well, I remember, and we didn't meet that night, but I remember it must have been 2006, 2007. And I was, as I used to, I don't anymore, but I used to go down every year at CRS, the Country Radio Seminar. Yep. And Trailor Choir was performing at one of the venues. I don't even remember which one.
Probably Legends.
It probably was. And I remember sitting there and watching you guys, and I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? This is either the worst thing anybody's ever going to see, or it is the absolute best thing anybody's ever going to see. Yeah. And I remember looking at the response, because I always gauge things like that by looking at the crowd. I'll watch the stage and I'll watch the artist for a minute, but then I look around to see how other people are responding, because my response doesn't matter. Nobody gives a shit what I think. So I'm interested to see how other regular people are responding. And you guys just struck a chord with people. Yeah. And it was almost like there was an attainability factor to Trailor Choir that did not exist. That buffer, it seemed like, was gone. It just seemed like at that time, there were three of you. And there were, I'll say you and Butter seemed more approachable. But that was the allure of it, is though I looked up on the stage and I thought, wow, there are two people that you could just generally be friends with. And that translated really well.
I think that was probably our biggest thing, is just the endearing factor of like, people wanted to hang out with us. They wanted to party with us. And we did that, So when we got on their first tours, we weren't even supposed to be on the tour. So Live Nation had no clue that Toby said, hey, get on this tour bus. You're going on this tour with us. So we show up to all these venues and we're like, where are we playing? He goes, go in the parking lot, find somebody to play for. So our whole first tour was literally just me and Butter and Crystal on a golf cart. We took the battery out of his Montero Sport, took jumper cables and made it into an adapter so we could plug in our guitar and our microphone and sing for all the tailgate parties. We just found a way to make it work, and people love that. And so therefore, when they did start coming to see us on the stage, like, hey, didn't I see you in the parking lot last year? Like, yeah. And there's like, yeah, that's awesome that you are now getting to play on the big stage or the side stage and this and that. So, but yeah, I think that was one of our biggest things, is that people felt like, man, these are the guys I want to hang out with. These are the guys I want to, come to my barbecue and things like that. So we definitely loved that aspect of what we were. And then, of course, the show was crazy over the top. You never knew what was going to happen. I mean, we did shows where we had Steve McGranahan, World's Strongest Redneck, come out and bend frying pans and rip, phone books and things like that. And then I tried and I couldn't do it. But no, we had a Forrest Gump impersonator that would come out on our stage and do crazy stuff. We just always wanted to make it a show, because it's like, I can go listen to a record and listen to somebody sing and play their song, and I can listen to the song and every lyric and hear everything perfectly. So what are you giving me that's different when I show up to see you play live than I could just listen to on your record or on your Spotify account or whatever? Right. And I think that was always our main focus. We started off as a frat party band. So when we started putting together the songs like Off the Hillbilly Hook and Rockin' the Beer Gut, it's like, what are we replacing out of that cover show that people would want to hear? So how are we replacing Sweet Home Alabama with an original? How are we replacing, Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy or Jesse's Girl or whatever? How are we replacing those songs with an original? So we wrote songs and we created our songs based off of what our show was going to be, more so than what, we were as probably a group. It's like, how are we going to entertain crowds with our original music?
Right. Well, talk me through a little bit for those of the people that don't know. Trailor Choir was signed to Show Dog, Toby Keith's label. Tell me a little bit about that and the hard work that you guys have put in to finally get the recognition and how all that came about to get Toby's attention and to get on Show Dog.
I think for us, it's probably a way different path than most people, because Butter had been, grinding it, hustling, grinding, however you want to call it. He had been here since he was 18, and he went to college at MTSU. And when we got our deal, he was 36, and he looks like he's still 10, but he had been here for 18 years, going at it, grinding, making things happen and all that kind of stuff. So everybody kind of knew who Butter was, that he was this crazy dude that was a little bit different than the norm. He was a 5'6", little, firecracker dude, so everybody knew him. So then when we put Trailor Choir together, I met him one night at my office. I caught him sneaking into my office out of his, because we shared a door in a duplex. So I caught him sneaking into my office. He didn't know I was there, like 4:00 in the morning, and he's coming through my side door to go eat all my peanut M&Ms and drink my diet Coca-Colas. So I see him walking through. I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I've been caught." He's like, "Man," because I'm down to my last little bit of money. I ain't hardly got nothing left, and I was just sneaking over here because I knew you had all these M&Ms and these Diet Cokes. And he said, "Man, I'm just trying to get some food." So I was like, "All right, man." So we sat down, talked, became friends. Next thing you know, he invited me to a show at the Bunging Up Pig. I started dancing in the crowd. He got me up on stage, and we kind of developed this crazy show. At the time, we had a fiddle player named G-Ray, who was 16. He was our third member, and he was insane. He was one of the best fiddle players you'd ever hear in your life, but he just kind of decided to go his own way. And then literally Crystal, the night that Toby saw us, Crystal was hired to be a backup singer. But we were at 12th and Porter, so back then the stage was just very, small. So it looked like we were free. And so when he decided he wanted to sign us, he said, "Man, I want all three of y'all." But the way it happened, really more than anything, is that me and Butter were playing 5 or 6 weekend town. We played Music Mafia, which we were blessed at. Then the next day we'd be playing the Billy Block show. Then we had our own show at Fuel that we played on Thursday nights. Then we'd randomly pop into everything we could jump up on stage at. And then the weekends we were playing frat parties. So every Friday and Saturday night we were somewhere in the SEC most of the time playing a frat party. And on those frat parties, we went from starting off at like $600, $700 a night, making like $3,500 a night, because we became in such high demand because it's like this crazy spectacle of a show. And so Bobby Pinson, if you know Bobby, he started kind of watching us and liking us, and we started renting his little bus truck thing he had made out of an old moving truck. We started renting that. So one night we were playing the Billy Block show. We get done playing. Billy Block says, "Hey, Toby Keith's in the back and wants to talk to y'all." And Pinson just thought we were this crazy thing that would make sense on Toby's label, on Toby's tour. Before that, actually Scott Frechetta came out to see us. Karen Keeley brought Scott Frechetta. He told us he loved us, but he thought we should go to LA. we were like Smash Mouth or Bare Naked Lady, that we weren't really probably going to have a chance at country radio, which maybe he was right out. And then we had several other labels can check us out as well, because we started filling in 200 and 300 people in the 12th and quarter every time we play it, And so we just built that crowd up. But the thing I always tell people is like they always say, if you got to be in the right place at the right time. And my response to that was, well, if you're more places, more times, then you're more likely to be in the right place at the right time. So that was just running, playing, 4 or 5 shows in town every single week. You could not see us somewhere every week. Of course, now it's different. Now there's 30, 40 shows a night in Nashville. It's not. Used to, there was just 3 or 4 venues that you had to get on to play the Billy Block show, or luck up to get on Music Mafia. Somehow somebody invited you that, or just a couple other little showcases you could do. Obviously there was open mic night, and put your name on the list and hope you get to play Bluebird or whatever. But now it's like there's so many. I have a weekly show. There's Whiskey Jam, of course, 2 or 3 times a week now, and I don't know. Every bar has a night now. So
no, it does. It seems like that. And I would have rather. I'm glad I was a part of the class that I was, because I couldn't imagine it now. People's attention spans are too short, and there's too much availability.
Yeah. It's definitely. I think even with what's going on right now, realizing how important the connection on the internet with your fans, are, and being able to do these live shows and some of these things that people are having to do now, these streaming shows, I believe is going to become more and more popular. But now we're in a time in the music industry when you're not going to get signed based on your talent. You can be the most talented singer in the room, and that's great for you. And but if you don't have something different to offer, if you don't have something to bring to the table that, either is a major fan base or you're one of a kind, something like, and really you've got to bring a business that's already working, and then they'll give you a record deal and they'll take you to the bigger waters, but you already have to have that ship built and sailing, before they're going to pick you up and say, hey man, I believe in you. There's no more, hey, I'm going to develop you, I'm going to put you out there, we're going to you. Very few times does that happen now, and probably only if you are bringing your own supply of money to push that.
Well, totally. I tell new artists all the time, getting a record deal now is like getting a loan from the bank. You have to prove to them that you don't need it before they'll give it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I tell my catchphrase these days is, everybody wants to jump on a moving train, but nobody wants to shovel the coal to get it going. And, that's, and it's, a lot of it too are a lot of artists are just lazy. They're not willing to do what you guys did in the early days, to go out there and play for no money and to start building up the awareness and doing what it is that you have to do to literally shovel that coal to get that attention. And
you building up that initial crowd that's going to be your inside champions that are going to talk about you every day. They're going to go out there and tell 10 buddies that tell 10 buddies,
Right.
And that's really where we're at in the industry now. You look at, I'll give you a great example. So I have another group called Nashville Cartel. It's myself, a guy named Jared Blake, Jared, who's on first season of The Voice, and then the original lead singer of Saving Abel, Jared Weeks. We tour together. This is a guy, Jared Weeks is a guy that has went out there, has been Grammy nominated, multi-platinum selling artist, has had the #1 song in the country in 2010 with Addicted, all these things that he's done. And he's humble enough that he'll go out now and say, hey, man, we're going to go out here and we're going to get $800 a piece or $1,000 a piece, which has led us to $20,000 shows that, we're not necessarily famous enough at the moment to really be getting, but people liked us so much that these people come in and say, hey, I don't care. I want y'all to come do this. I'm going to pay you this money. Come do my Christmas party. Do this. I think that's, because we're out there grinding, because you're out there to go out and play this show, which is probably going to lead to another show. And I think a lot of people, they want the fame, like the work. And this is the thing I just so I enjoyed a little bit of fame that we acquire and loser. But what I really love is music. I love to perform. I love to put on a show. So regardless of what ever happened, I'm always going to be an entertainer. I'm always going to be a performer. I'm always going to be a singer and a songwriter. So how famous I am at any given time doesn't determine if I create music or if I'm a musical person. That's just part of my life. It's part of how God made me. And so, I do this showcase every week with a lot of young artists. And whenever one of them asks me, how do I get famous? I get that question a lot. You'd be surprised about that. If people are more concerned about that, the way you're going to get famous is by being you and doing exactly what you love to do in music. If you don't really love music, if you just want to be famous, then I suggest you get on TikTok and YouTube and all that kind of stuff and make funny videos that you can hopefully go viral with, which we all kind of know if you get in the industry long enough, there's viral and then there's actual viral. I mean, you can create something that seems like it went viral. And so, you look at, for example, what's his name? Blanco Brown, with that song, The Get Down. That's a real viral thing, moving and doing great things. And we're doing the dance on TikTok and it got huge. Well, then Broco and B&G come in and said, hey, wait a second. We want a piece of that. And 625 million streams later, it's making them millions and millions of dollars off of one song.
No, I mean, that's the truth.
Now they're getting 30, 40 grand a night to go and really just show up and do that one song. What a phenomenal singer he is if you really get into his music and listen. I mean, he hit whistle tones and everything else. I can't do any of that stuff, but our talents are different,
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of segue and talk about The Biggest Loser, because that was a major pivot for you. What, for anybody that may not be familiar with that journey as far as you're concerned, I know that you were over 400 pounds during the whole Trailor Choir thing, through the label, through the shows, through everything. What was it that brought you to a realization that it's like, I've got to change something? And how did that decision lead into The Biggest Loser?
It's kind of an interesting string of events. So I had accomplished so many things at such a young age. I mean, I was only 27 whenever The Biggest Loser opportunity came around. So I'd already been touring for 5 years, from 22 to 27. I'd been on the road with Toby Keith. I had opened for ZZ Top. I'd done all these things. And the moment that something hit me that there's a little something off in my brain, we opened for ZZ Top at Sturgis. And I was so excited about it. I was like, I can't believe we're getting to do this. This is amazing. I guess it's going to be the coolest thing ever. So we opened for ZZ Top, and there's 60,000 backers out at the Buffalo Chip that are watching us that love us, and ZZ Top was standing on the side of the stage just watching us play. And I get done, and I was like high-fiving, those guys as I'm walking off stage and going back to the bus. And then I sit down on the bus. I'm like, well, what do I do now? What's next? How do I top that? I wasn't proud of the things that I was accomplishing because I was still running from things in my past. So I just wanted to know what was coming next. What was the next thing I was going to look forward to, And then, of course, you get all hyped up because you got a song out, and then you get home Monday from, this great weekend of shows and crushing it and talking to radio guys and all that stuff. And then you get back and, the record label's like, well, we didn't get no ads this week, guys. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm like, well, we just went out there and crushed the show. People loved us. We sold, $20,000 in merchandise. I mean, something is going on right here. But all they would be concerned about was that radio. So that kind of bothered me. So then I started thinking, like, okay, well, what else can I do? And I started thinking, I'm going to go to LA. I took over Nashville. I'm going to go to LA and I'm going to be a major actor. I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to be the next Chris Farley. And that's what was in my head. And so I was luckily attached through a person we wrote with named Sue Sandberg with Cindy Fairley, who is the Fairley brothers' sister and their lawyer. And they were getting ready to do Dumb and Dumber 2 the first time. Not the one that actually was coming out, but the first one they had. So I went out there to audition for a part with her. And she had me in her office, which was this huge office in downtown LA. And I got up there and I talked and I told her all about me. And I did the worm and I did all these things and played some guitar and sing for her. And she's like, get done. She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, I love you, your personality. I love how bright you shine. She's like, I really think that you got a chance to do this. I said, well, that's awesome. Let's do it. Put me in a movie. She goes, but she's like, I think that you don't realize the difference in camera. She goes, when you're on camera, you're going to be so huge compared to these other people because you're almost 500 pounds. For somebody like you standing next to a regular sized person, it just doesn't look right in the frame, in the camera. She goes, now we can use people like you in certain things, but you're going to probably be the guy that runs through the Speedo for a comic relief moment, a slapstick kind of thing. She goes, I want more for you than that. I would love to see you be like Chris Farley. I was like, well, Chris Farley was huge. She goes, he was about 300 pounds. So, he's still 200 pounds lighter than you are,
Wow.
And just complete, and was a phenomenal actual improv comedian. That was what his background was. So differently than me, which was this kind of large character that was, larger than life. I didn't have the comedic skills that he had. You know what I mean? So comparing myself to somebody that was lifelong in it was kind of a stupid thing to do. But at 26, 27, you don't know. You want to be what you want to be. So she told me to go home and lose some weight, and that she would keep me in mind, and that they might look at putting me in the movie somewhere, this or that. But she wanted me to kind of focus on losing some weight, not getting small, but losing a couple 100 pounds would be closer to 300 pounds, 280, 290. So I got home. I was getting on a flight to go home, and I was having a real bad pain in my leg, and I looked it up on WebMD. I thought I had a hernia. And so it wasn't. I get home, land. My girlfriend at the time took me to the hospital, made me go. And the doctor gets looking at it, and they told me that I had what was called cellulitis in my leg, which was caused from my type 2 diabetes that I didn't even know I had.
Wow. So
I'm sitting there close to 500 pounds. I think at that point I was around 490 or so, which was probably about my heaviest weight. And they take me in and they say, hey, you know what, you're extremely obese. You got this and this and this going on. Your liver's swollen and your kidneys are swollen. And they did tests for hours on me. And they said, it's not, what's happening in your leg is just a small piece of what's really going on. I was like, okay, so I need to lose weight. They're like, yeah, you need to lose weight. I was like, okay, cool. Well, give me a diet and I'll go on and lose weight. She goes, oh, no, we're taking you to surgery right now. I'm like, immediately? She was like, yeah, if we don't get the infection out of you right now, she goes, you would lose your leg within the next 2 days. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that scared me to death because I'm like, I thought I was invincible. I thought there ain't nothing going to get me. I'm Bigg Vinny, And so I learned real quickly that I wasn't immortal like I thought I was. And they took me in, they cut this huge hole about that big in my leg and pulled out all this infection and put in the hospital bed for about 6 days. And on about the 6th day, I get a call from a girl named Dana DeSilvio, who was a girlfriend of mine when I first got to Nashville, and she was on the first season of Biggest Loser. And she asked me, she said, hey, I've got an audition for you for Biggest Loser, front of the line pass, because I want you to go on it. Nobody knew I was in the hospital because I was so ashamed and embarrassed. I didn't want anybody to know. I didn't even call my mom. Wow. Like I didn't want anybody to know. And so sure enough, I get off the phone. My girlfriend at the time said, you need to call her back. You need to go audition for this show. And I did. And then I got immediately called back. I mean, I didn't even get out of the casting place where they did it at the memorial before I got a text message that said, hey, call this number. And I called the number and they said, hey, we really loved you. We love your story. We'd love to have you come out to LA, audition for the show for the final auditions. And so I did. I went out to LA, and then they had about 100 of us out there that they brought out, and finally selected me down to the final 15 to put me on the show. And really, for me, the process of deciding to make that pivot was caused because I gave myself a disease that was going to take my leg. And being a guy, if you've ever been around Toby much, you know that the patriotic, the way you treat our military and stuff, you got to treat them top notch. And all I could think about was all those guys I met that lost their legs because they were out there fighting the war to keep me safe, to keep me be able to eat whatever I wanted to eat and do whatever I wanted to do. And here I was about to lose my leg because I ate myself into that. And I couldn't handle that. And that was what really made me decide that, hey, I got to go do something different. God gave you a body that is functioning, that you have talents, you have all these things going for you, and you're just taking it for granted. And so you're going to have to take this time now and do something different. And that was where I made the decision. I'm going to go and change my life forever. And I went and faced the demons of my childhood, things I went through. I grew up in a very hard childhood, and I faced those demons, and I forgave the people that hurt me and all that. And that's what really helped me get the weight off and keep it off. And, now I'm 8 years later and still going strong, baby.
Well, I did. How much weight did you end up losing total?
So total on the show, I lost 184 because I'd already been on the diabetic diet for several months before I went out. And I was about 453 when I left the house to go out there. I weighed in on the show at 426 was my first official weigh-in. So I'd already lost like 75 pounds, 70,
now I gotta ask you, could you tell a difference in the way that you felt with even just that, say going from 490 to 427?
Huge difference. I mean, you look at that. Some people barely weigh over 100 pounds.
Right.
Total, I lost about 211 pounds from the time that I actually weighed in when I left for the show, 453, which was when I actually knew how much I weighed, because before that it was kind of a guess because the scale only went up to like 450 pounds really. So they were guesstimating another 3 pounds. So I didn't have a scale that would weigh me. Even at the hospital in Columbia, they didn't have one that would go over that. So it was a guesstimation on how much I weighed at my heaviest, or around, they figure it was around 490 or so, what the doctor said. But I was 453 whenever I left for the show. And I lost all the way down to 242 at my lowest. So about 211 pounds. And
wow.
Right now, currently weighing right about 300 pounds. And but I've spent the last 8 years of my life trying to get bigger and stronger and powerlifting. And I don't know how much muscle I've added, but I know that my strength is insanely more than it was whenever I came off the show.
Well, that was one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was, so you lose all of this weight. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to go into more of the lifting and the bodybuilding aspect of it, and to gain weight back, but in a healthy way? I don't want to say one extreme to the other, but here you were and you lost all of this weight, and then it's like, now I'm going to focus on the bodybuilding. How was that for you? Was it just a part of getting in and doing the exercise and you realize, man, I really like this as a lifestyle?
Yeah. That's part of it. I think one of the big things for me is, like, I realized even after losing all that weight on the show, 8 hours a day of working out, eating perfectly clean, all that stuff, my body just really stopped at about 265. And I had to push so insanely hard to get under 265. So 265 was kind of where my body really wanted to live. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do then if I ain't ever going to be a little skinny, tiny guy? I'm never going to be a ripped up six-pack dude unless I go into the bodybuilding route and then really focus on building the muscle up to fill up that area. So I was just kind of doing, 4 hours of workouts every day, and I thought that was the right thing. And then I ran into this guy at the gym named Seth Cab, and he said, hey, man, you're the hardest worker I've ever seen. You pull that tire and you come in here and you work out and you crush it, man, and you leave here not an ounce of you ain't soaked in sweat. He goes, I said, yep, I'm the hardest worker, man. That's what I pride myself on my grind and how hard I push. He goes, yeah. He goes, but you're also the stupidest worker I've ever seen. And I was like, what? And I didn't really know the guy at the time, but he was this big old ripped up bodybuilder guy. He's like, listen, man. He goes, you have so much strength. You have so much natural ability. And he goes, your chest is naturally so big, and your shoulders and all this other stuff. He's like, let me teach you how much you should be eating. And he asked me how much I was eating. I told him I was eating about 2,400 calories a day, which was what the show had me on. And he goes, well, look, that's fine. He goes, that ain't going to hurt you. You're not going to lose a bunch of muscle with that. He goes, but you're not going to gain anything. He's like, so if you really want to get bigger and stronger, he's like, let me teach you. So he put me up to like 3,400 calories a day, like 1,000 more calories a day. And then he said, I want you to stop doing insane amounts of cardio every single day and all this stuff. He goes, I want you to come in. I want you to get up every morning, go do a 20-minute walk, get done with that, eat breakfast, let it digest, and go to the gym for an hour. He goes, do 45 minutes of, your lift, 30, 45 minutes of a lift, and then, 15 to 20 minutes of light cardio afterwards. And he goes, that way your blood's oxygenated and you're already going to have your heart rate up. So you'll be able to stay in the fat burning zone for 20, 30 minutes. He goes, and then I want that to be all you do. He goes, and at the end of the day, if you want to go a walk or do whatever, do that. He goes, but don't be getting your heart rate up all the way up and all the way down, all the way up and all the way down all the time. He goes, we'll do some HIIT training sessions every now and then for 20, 30 minutes, but you're overworking your body, which is increasing your cortisol levels, which is going to make you hold fat, which is going to make you not, gain any muscle, and your body's going to be catabolic instead of anabolic, which means it's eating itself. You're eating the muscle. So I was like, what do I got to lose? So I jumped in with him and I said, I'll give it a month. And in that month, I dropped from about 265 back down to 242. I think 238 was my actual lowest. And you could see, even eating that much more food and doing the workouts like that, you could see my six-pack start to come in, and you could see my body changing. Now, where the problem came in is I was comparing myself to the guys that were professional bodybuilders. And I didn't realize all the steroids and all the different things that took place in that. I just thought that's how they were because they worked hard, Now, they do work hard still. Even on the steroids, they have to work hard. Just I don't want that to be a misconception. But I was kind of comparing myself. So I was like, well, I need to get bigger. So that was when my mind said, I'm going to eat more. So I bumped up to 5,000 calories and I started working out harder and trying to get my weights heavier and all that kind of stuff. And I did that, and it definitely started increasing that. And I got up to about 265, 270 doing that. And I was still lean and looked great and all that. And then about 2 years into that, I found strongman. And strongman was where I really wanted to go. I just loved it. I was infatuated with the sport. how these guys were, picking up 1,000 pounds and moving it, not just picking it up, but moving it.
Right.
And so that just enthralled me, and I fell in love with the sport, and I started kind of training for that. And I was on my way to do my first competition this past June when I snapped my peroneal tendon in my left ankle.
Oh.
And that sidelined me. So, but to do that, I got up, those strongmen, they get up in the 400 pounds, but they're 400 pounds and you can still see their abs.
Right, right.
Which is crazy. They're also about 6'7", 6'8", most of them. So I started thinking I was going to do that, not professionally, but just for fun. And I got up to about 320 at my heaviest. But again, I was in phenomenal shape, even at that weight. So, but yeah, I think it's just all the different ways. Like you said, I like to change with the times. I guess I see something I like, I want to try it, I want to go for it. I figure like you only get one round, on this world, to kind of do the things you're going to do. So as long as my blood numbers stay good, as long as my health is in place, I don't care about the weight. I don't necessarily care about how much fat I carry, as much as I do. Do I have diabetes? Do I have high cholesterol? Do I have high blood pressure? And, every few months I'll go get a physical and I'll get blood work done, and all that has remained and stayed phenomenal. And actually my cholesterol is too low. So
wow.
I've had problems getting life insurance because my cholesterol, my LDL stays at about 22 to 30, and which is insanely low. It needs to be closer to 100. Because that's what creates your testosterone and other things too. So there is use for your LDL. It does help things in your body. A lot of people are like, well, I'll get it as low as I can, but there are reasons that it needs to be in your body too. So,
man, that is awesome. It has always been, your story in that regard has always been so powerful to me, because the commitment that it would take for somebody to make a decision, lose over 200 and something pounds, and not just lose the weight, but then go, now what? Now I'm going to live healthy. And that's a big thing. Losing weight and living healthy, two totally different things.
Completely different. And educating yourself on what is actually healthy versus what society tells you is healthy. Society tells you that this guy with a six-pack who's ripped up, that's healthy. But honestly, he might have high blood pressure, terrible cholesterol, all these other things, because people's bodies process things differently. I know a guy that played bass with us for a while, Chris Shepard. The guy weighs 135 pounds. He was an all-SEC rugby player, which is crazy to think of a guy being 135 pounds going to play rugby like that, but he played for Auburn. And, he would come on the road with us. This is right after I come off Biggest Loser for a couple of years. He traveled with us, and, man, he'd show up with a dozen donuts, and he'd go to McDonald's and eat everything he wanted to eat. And he's like, man, I just eat whatever I want. I never gain weight. He goes, I just always stay ripped up. And I'm talking about, you could see every piece of muscle in every part of his body, because he was so lean. And he calls me one day. He's like, Penny, I need to talk to you. I'm like, what is it? He goes, man, I'm in bad shape. I was like, what's wrong? He's like, my blood pressure's through the roof. My cholesterol's so high. They're like, I'm borderline diabetic. And he goes, I have all these things going on in my body. I was like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought that, because his body type doesn't show it, So there's three submental types that people call it. There's endomorph, ectomorph, and mesomorph. A mesomorph is a guy that, or a girl that pretty much just stay muscular, natural build is muscular and leaner, but they can gain some fat and a lot of muscle. An ectomorph is a person that stays skinny no matter what they do. They can eat all the food, they can do anything they want, just don't gain weight. Assholes. And then there's endomorphs like me that I can gain a ton of muscle very quickly, but I can also gain a ton of fat. And it's a hard balance to find the medium parts of those. And then obviously a lot of people are hybrids of a couple of them. So
sure.
For me, I definitely carry a lot of mesomorph because I have longer arms and naturally, big features in certain ways. I don't have the short, stubby arms, but I do have the very rounded midsection, and that's just kind of the way I'm built. So learning the education of what is truly healthy versus not, and I learn still stuff every day. You have to be open to continue to learn. I think for me in the beginning, I thought I knew everything. I come off Biggest Loser, I know everything about health and fitness and everything there is. And then as you get out there, you just realize, you went through 6 months of learning. Other people have been through 30 years of learning, 30 years of experience, because experience, you can go out there. Somebody that's good at taking tests can become a personal trainer in 2 weeks. They can go take the test, they can get the certificate. That doesn't mean they know anything about lifting weights or how to help somebody that has a messed up hip or a broken ankle, or, there's just so many things that go into that. And then when it comes to the food side of it, there's no one size fits all. There's some people throw out keto all the time, and other people say you got to be vegetarian, and other people say you got to be vegan. Some people say you need to eat 6 times a day, and some people say 3 or 2, or, intermittent fasting. There's just so much information out there. And honestly, you have to find what works for your body, because it might be different for you, because you have different hormone imbalances that somebody else does. You've been through different things, your blood type. There's so many things that can affect the way your body processes different foods and different things, So it's a huge learning experience, to go out there and learn all that different stuff. I love it because I write meal plans. If you've seen it advertised, a company called V-Shred. Me and my wife both work for this company, and people always assume that they know everything that they need to do and that they should do. And we have to really customize things to fit certain people. You got people in Alaska that you're saying, hey, you need to go out and you need to get all these vegetables and all these fruits and all these things. They're like, yeah, well, that's not available here. So what else can I do?
Right.
People, we deal with people from Australia and people from the Middle East and people from India. And we get people from all over the world that we write these meal plans for, and learning like, hey, we don't have access to those things, but we have all the seafood in the world,
Right.
We eat sea urchins every day. I'm like, wow, we saw that on Survivor, and I never thought people actually ate those things. So,
right.
I've definitely learned, even just from writing meal plans for that company, how different cultures and different places have to have different foods,
Right. Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I need to get you to help me. I want to lose about 25 pounds. I get you to help me. My problem is, though, that I don't want to exercise.
You'd be surprised, because it's probably not your problem. Most people's problem is that the food that they put in their body, because you can lose weight without ever. You can walk. You don't have to go and do all these crazy workouts and all that stuff. Honestly, it's eating whole foods. The first thing I tell people when it's like, stop eating anything out of a box. Stop eating anything that's, even some canned stuff, anything frozen. Eat whole foods that are just real foods. You know what I mean? If you do that first, that's the first thing I do for people. It's like, I'm not going to come change everything on you. I just want you to, if you're going to eat breakfast and you want to have oatmeal and a banana and you want to have 5 eggs, have it. That's fine. But don't go have oatmeal, banana, 5 eggs, 2 or 3 bars that, a bar that you think is good and healthy for you, or this or that. Anything it's a processed food, boxes of cereal, like, oh, it's healthy cereal. I'm like, is it? How much sugar is it? How much of it are you eating? Are you actually weighing out the portion and knowing how much you're putting in your body, or are you just pouring a big old huge bowl and eating 800 grams of carbs in the morning? And it's also, like I said, once again, learning what works for you, because it might be different for most people. But I would say most people, the first thing they got to do is no fast food, no processed food, no Coca-Colas, or
right.
Coke or Pepsi or whatever, And that doesn't even mean, that means even no diet ones either, because there's so much bad crap and all that. And then alcohol, in Nashville especially, we celebrate by using alcohol. We get down or something don't go our way, we use alcohol. We're want to hang out with a friend or have a lunch meeting, we use alcohol. So that's the biggest thing that I focus with people that I work with here in locally is cut back your drinking. Do it only on an actual special occasion where you had a number one, or you're celebrating somebody's 40th birthday or something like that. But don't find every excuse in the world to go out and drink, because that's what I did with food. I don't drink at all. But with food, it was like, oh, I'm down, I'm going to eat. Oh, I'm happy, we're going to eat. Oh, I'm celebrating, we're going to eat. So I use food as that for me. And thank God I don't really do that anymore. I stay on a pretty strict plan because of my goals and what I want to do. And luckily, even through this, because I'm a co-owner of our gym, I'm still able to go in the gym and work out and lift weights and do some of that. We don't have any cardio equipment at my gym because it's just a lifting gym, but I've still been able to keep up most of my regimen on what I do. So,
right. Well,
all the eggs are sold out at my grocery store. So.
No, I know everything's getting sold out. It's getting ridiculous. But what does the future look like for Bigg Vinny? I know you've got a brand new single out. It's called The Good Life. It's available everywhere. People, don't go stream it. Go buy it, for Christ's sakes. It's 99 cents or $1.29. Acts like you're slapping somebody's grandma.
Go buy it and then still stream it.
Yeah, buy it and stream it, and buy copies for other people. So you're still doing music, obviously, like you're saying. I've seen everything that you've got going on there. You've got the new single out, and then you've got the fitness stuff. Tell me where all of that combines. What does the future look like for you? What are you focusing on?
Yeah, I think for me, my ultimate future, I believe, is in motivational speaking, because my fitness will help lead me towards that and keep me in the realm that I can do that. And I can still perform my music while I'm doing that. It gives me a different platform than other people because I want to tell my story because I know it's going to help somebody. You know, because my story isn't just the weight loss. My story goes back to my childhood and the trauma that I went through. And I had a very abusive stepfather that beat me and my brothers till we could barely walk sometimes. So that's the story I want to tell because that's what led me to being 500 pounds. Because I thought if I ate more and got bigger and stronger that he could hurt me. And then I became an emotional eater because of that. So my story is called I Love Me. And that's what I'm writing a book right now called I Love Me. It's about loving yourself enough to go after the things that you already deserve that you don't believe you deserve because you didn't love yourself enough to believe you deserve it. And so my whole book is called I Love Me. So that's my future, I believe, is speaking to crowds, sharing my story, sharing my music with them. You know, I'm always going to have a record. I'm always going to have a new song. I'm always going to be doing that because that's who I am. But I think the encompassing overall part of me is I want to speak. I want to help people believe in themselves, you know. And I would love to, really for me, I love doing schools. I love doing, you know, talking to kids because I believe that's where it starts. If you can, like in the Bible, it says if you plant the seed at an early age, and even if they get away from it, they'll come back to it, you know. So I want to plant the seed of loving yourself into these kids. I want them to know that, hey, you have to wake up every morning, and no matter what your circumstances or your situation, you have to believe that you can come out of that, you know, because I didn't believe that when I was a kid. I thought I was going to be a poor, white trash, you know, abusive stepfather, you know, stepfather. I mean, that ain't what I really thought I was going to be, but I think that was in my mind. It's like, you can't be anything more than what you came from. And I want to challenge that to everybody that I talk to is like, stop blaming other people for where you are. You know, where you are when you're 16 or 17, you may not be able as much control of it as you can be when you're 25, 30 years old, 40 years old, and you're still blaming what happened in your childhood for where you're currently at. Then you're messing up your own life. Because it doesn't mean it doesn't affect you on a daily basis, but it means at some point you got to step up and say, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be a different person. I'm not going to let that control my life anymore. And I've talked in schools up in Cleveland that were predominantly black, that when I walked in, they were like, who is this? You know, I got called every name in the book walking to the stage.
Right.
You know, but by the end of it, I was able to get the kids to realize from my point of view and what I grew up in and what I went through is not so different from some of the things they face. It may not be exact, but it's still the struggle. It's still the hard times, the things that you got to overcome. And I think my biggest goal in life is to teach people to overcome those things. Realize that you're never going to be perfect, that it doesn't mean that you're not going to struggle again, that it doesn't mean you're not going to have another mountain to climb, but giving you the tools that you need to help climb that mountain each time that something does get thrown in your way. Because people wake up every day and find out they got cancer. It's not something they knew was going to happen. You know, it's not something they could plan for or anything, but it's how you react to those things. It's how you know, what I call mastering. You know, how do you master that? How do you get over it? How do you get past it? And, you know, obviously there's going to be times in your life when you're not able to get over them. I mean, obviously things like that are way different than weight loss and different stuff. But every single problem, there is some kind of solution or some kind of at least positive attitude you can have towards that. You can learn from it. And that's what I try to do is find the positive in everything. And like I said, not saying I don't have bad moments or this or that, but I would generally wake up very excited, very happy about life. You know, even, you know, this pandemic we're going through right now has already cost my family probably $35,000 just in these first 3 months, just in March, April, and May. But I'm trying to be like, hey, you know what? I get to spend more time with my family. At least I was blessed enough to have some money put back because we were saving to buy a house. That I'm okay right now. You know, I got a lot of friends right now that have no clue where they're going to make money from, you know, but they're jumping on Facebook Live and putting up a tip bucket. So I try to tip 2 or 3 of them a night if I can and help them out, you know. So it's just, how do we get through those problems, you know? And at the end of the day, there's always going to be a way to get through it. And for me, that's always been God. So, you know, Jesus has been in my life my whole life. And even at the worst, darkest parts of it, I feel like he's been there with me. So.
Man, that's awesome. I can't think of anybody better that would be to send into a school, you know, to talk to people about their future, the current status of where they are and how they can overcome everything. So I think that's such an amazing plan that you've got, because you've got a great story, man, a story that everybody can relate to. And the funny thing of it is that translates. I was saying earlier about how I felt when I saw the Trailor Choir the first time, that it was so relatable. And that just has, that common theme has run all the way through your life. And I think that God is going to use you in amazing ways for that.
I appreciate that, man. It's really important to me, and also to be that example for my kids. I want to teach my son, how to love everybody and how to treat people with respect and kindness, even when you don't agree with them. I think we live in a world now where everybody is, everybody's a reporter, everybody's an expert on everything and all that kind of stuff. And to me, as opposed to arguing with people most of the time, I'm gonna sit back and say, hey, man, I disagree with you, but I still love you, and you have the right to have your opinion. And I think you've dealt with some of that, lately, some opinions you've had. So. And it's tough, because a lot of times people misunderstand because they get so emotional and that reaction happens before they listen to everything that's being said. And I used to be that way really bad. I mean, I'm a reactive person because of everything I've been through in my life, but also just because I'm a creative person. I want to say what I want to say, and I'm loud, And so even with my wife now, who is amazing, she's sitting over there too. Hey, girl. She taught me how to slow down, how to be like, hey, wait a second, let me finish everything I'm saying and then respond, because I might be answering a question that you're going to ask me before you ask me that question.
Right.
And she's taught me to do that. And it's been great having somebody that can add to your life and help you be a better person. And she definitely does that for me. And I think everybody could slow down a little bit, listen to somebody else for a minute, understand where they're coming from, because we're all born and raised different ways. We're all come from different backgrounds and different things. So to automatically assume that what's best for somebody else's life, is hard to say. And also, if you're trying to, if you're fighting for something you believe in, it's because it most of the time makes your life better or increases your quality of life on this earth. So if you're talking to someone that's going to change their quality of life on this earth to a lower quality of life, then why are they going to agree with you? So how do you combat those different things when we all come from different walks of life and from different parts of the world? So.
Well, and if we all thought the exact same way and we all had the exact same opinions, what a boring place this would be.
Well, yeah. Well, I think we would we'd be bored to death as opposed to other things, but. I mean, obviously, there's some things that are just moral. You can't hate somebody for their color of skin. And things like that. I mean, if you do that, then that's on you, and hopefully you find forgiveness for that. And maybe there's a history or something that pushes you to be that way. I don't know your story, so I don't cast judgment on people automatically for how they believe. Because I don't know what they went through. I don't know what things that have happened to them as a kid that may have made their mind believe a certain stereotype or a certain this or that. For me, I grew up. Small town Tennessee, Perry County, Tennessee, born and raised. We didn't have no culture. It was just basically all white people in my town. So only thing I knew outside of my race and outside of how I grew up was whatever Hollywood showed me, or whatever I saw on the news. So you start believing, well, that's how it is in LA, or that's how it is in New York. And then you get up there, and I end up going to New York. I'm like, holy crap, there's more country stuff in New York than there is in Tennessee. I got to upstate New York. It was beautiful, and there were so many trees and farms and all kinds of crazy stuff, and you get out to California and realize that Los Angeles is not California. There's so many other places there. And so getting more culture definitely was a huge thing for me to get out there into the world and see other places and meet other people and other religions and other races and other things like that. I think helped culture me to other people and made me a more loving, caring person, overall, because I could understand stuff from somebody else's point of view. Which I think anybody that you can get some of that in your life is definitely a huge help, because we do only see things from our point of view, from what we live, from how we were raised.
Well, I think we're all a sum of our experiences, and
absolutely
the better, more rounded people that we can be, or we will get those things through the different experiences that we have. And I see way too many people close themselves off. And that's why even in music business wise, I think that's why we don't have superstars anymore, because they get so isolated and their experience almost reaches a ceiling, and they're not experienced to everyday life and everyday people. And therefore the art becomes less interesting. And I think it's a big funnel that works that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I feel like that really started happening probably like in 2005, 2006, I don't know that there's, I know that some people think that certain people are superstars right now because they're currently famous. But are they going to stand the test of time? Are they going to be Toby Keith, 25 years from now, 30 years from now? Are they going to be George Strait, or those type of people? Will they, transcend and become Justin Timberlake? I don't know that. it's hard to say.
I think I do. And I think the answer to that question is no. I think because the society that we live in right now, I've said it a million times. I think most people in the entertainment industry, it doesn't even just have to be music industry, but in the entertainment industry, people, because of the social media world we live in, are more interested in the perception of fame than the reality of success.
I agree with that. And it's what have you done for me lately? I feel like.
Oh, totally.
It's not the sum of your works anymore. It's like, oh, what are you doing right now? Are you currently a big star? Because if you're not, then you're not a star.
Well, and we live in the business now. You can be relevant in noon and completely irrelevant by 5 p.m. I mean,
yeah, I've seen it. I mean, I got friends right now. If you've heard of this band called Why Don't We? They're a new upcoming boy band, and they're good dudes, and they all come from. I think some of them are on X Factor or one of the other shows, and they kind of put them together, and they're just phenomenal, little dudes, and they're out there blowing it up and doing great things, but they don't feel like they're famous at all, even though they're filling out 6,000-7,000 person places every single night by themselves, as the headliner. I'm like, guys, y'all are killing it. I don't know what kind of deal you've got worked out, but you're doing, great things. You just got to say it. But all they can look at is, well, we're not on the radio. We're not currently at the top of the charts. We're not this, we're not that. I'm like, yeah, but guys, you're at the top of the sales chart. You're at the top of you got almost 6 million Instagram followers that are real followers that are not fake. And every time you get on a live on Instagram, there's 6,000 people watching you.
Right.
I've seen people with double the amount of fans you have go live and have a quarter of the amount of people you have.
That's right.
Watching. You're looking at fake numbers, so many times, and it is tough. But yeah, you're right. It's right now I think the biggest guy in country music is probably Luke Combs, if I had to guess. And I love the dude. So. I think that he's crushing it. What will he still be crushing it 20 years from now? Florida Georgia Line a few years ago, they were everywhere and everything all the time. And I mean, they still are doing great, but they're definitely not as prominent at this moment as they were 6 or 7 years ago, 5 to 6 years ago.
Right.
And I love them. True. I think they're great dudes. I think that they're hard workers, and they came here with the dream and went to college and did, they followed the path and did everything they had to do to make it. So I respect that. And I also respect that they always thank Jesus Christ every time they get an award or anything. So I was watching the award show a few years ago, and they were literally the only ones I've ever won that got up there that a lot of them said thank the guy up above or thank the big man upstairs or this or that, but they were the ones that said we want to say thank you to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, for without him none of this would be possible. And I just think that goes a long way with me. When you're no matter what you sing about or no matter what you do, you're not afraid to share your faith. I think is a big deal for me. But yeah, who knows? I mean, who knows if those guys, I mean, they've obviously been very smart with their money and put it in great places to continue making money. And they're already in that, $60-70 million net worth range, which a lot of people work through. I think Tim McGraw's net worth is probably in that same range, and he's been doing it for 30 something years,
Right.
So
they're doing something right.
Yeah.
Well, they're reinventing themselves
all the time, man. Their new record, last thing I heard on was a country. That new song they got is super country, I think they, and I love that they support other artists too. They're working with my buddy Kanan Smith, and I had a cut on Kanan's last record that he had with Universal, I think. And man, they support him. They take him on the road with them. They didn't just sign him. They signed him and said, "Hey, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to sign you, take you on the road with us, make a record with you. We're going to post everything you put out on our social medias and tell our fans to love you like we love you." And I think that's important. I mean, you look at Kelsey Ballerini. I mean, girl's phenomenally talented, sweetheart of a girl. The song was failing. It was about to flop. And Taylor Swift put out one tweet and sold 127,000 downloads overnight. Yeah. So that just goes to show you, the power of influence that some of these people do have in a short amount of time. That doesn't mean it's going to last forever, but I would say Taylor Swift is probably our last, in the country music industry, probably our last superstar,
I don't know who's, I don't know who's going to fill those shoes. But I think it's because of how we.
At least 6 to 6 pairs in each wardrobe change. So.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot. No wonder nobody's going to be able to fill them. They can't figure out which ones to put on. But yeah, I mean, it is going to be interesting to see. And I think with what we're going through right now, I think is even going to change our industry forever.
It has to, because I've been looking last night. How many times have you seen Brad Paisley go live on Instagram before this happened?
Yeah, never.
But look at. There's a lot of nights they've closed Instagram down because so many people going live, and Miley Cyrus is doing a nightly show.
Yep.
Which I think is good in some ways because she's helping brighten her fans' day and talking to them directly and bringing them on screen with her and all that kind of stuff. But I think we're going to see this is not going to go away now that it's happened because people are realizing like, hey, this is a real way to really connect with your fans. To make them feel ownership mentality in what you're doing and love you forever. You get a fan on there, Miley Cyrus, for example, just because she's such a big star. She brings a fan on there and she talks to them for 2 or 3 minutes, and they get to be on her page and everything else while she's live. That person will fight to the death for her.
Forever, from now on.
Forever. There's nothing that anybody could say or she could do to make them like, well, you know what, that one time she was so sweet to me. And I think that's why Taylor Swift is who she is, because I watched this girl stand for 10 hours at CRS, or CMA Fest one year and just talk to people. And sign autographs and hug necks and talk, share stories with them and all that kind of stuff. And Garth Brooks was obviously the master of that first,
Well, isn't it funny, though, to you that everybody, and especially new artists and even labels, we can throw labels in there, keep trying to find the secret sauce that makes up the Garth Brooks and the Taylor Swifts. And it's very easy to see. It's the ones that did that. It's the ones that did stay 4.5, 5 hours, 6 hours after and shake every hand. It's not the ones that want to be so famous that they think what makes them famous is the buffer between them and their fans, the illusion and all of that. It's the ones that actually do seem like and act like normal people.
What's funny is I've got to have conversations with both Taylor and Garth, and I've asked them the same question. I was like, what is it that makes people love you so much? And Garth and her said the exact same thing almost. It's a little different wording, but basically what they said was, I'm a bigger fan of the person walking up to meet me than they are of me.
Yeah.
And that was almost Garth's exact words. He goes, you know what I just try to do, Vinny? He said, I try to, every person that's taken their time, that's used their hard-earned money to come out and see me play or bought my record and that, he goes, if they come up to meet me, I just want them to know how thankful I am that they gave me the opportunity to do what I love. He said, so I'm a bigger fan of the person coming up to meet me than they are of me. Wow. And that's always stuck with me. And I'm that way too. I'm never, obviously I'm not, never become the star that they have, but anybody that's been our fans that's come to our shows know that I'll hug every baby and shake every hand and hug every neck. And I love doing that, and it's part of, it's natural personality for me anyways. It's not me stretching to be there. I'm naturally that kind of a person, And so I do know it's harder. I've been on the road with some people, and it's not that they don't want to be that way, but just naturally they're either germophobic or they have anxiety disorders or different things like that. I think a lot of artists suffer from that because, artists are finicky creatures, some of us, especially the super artistic people. I'm not necessarily a super artistic person. I'm a creator. I have a quick mind and all this kind of stuff, but I'm also kind of have a business mind. So I'm kind of a hybrid of the situation. Some people are so artistic that they're really reclusive, like they're naturally that way. And so to expect them to be a certain way, they're just never going to be that. It doesn't mean that they won't have fans, but they're not going to have the mass following of the ownership mentality that people carry for Garth Brooks. I mean, you watch when people started attacking Garth Brooks over not singing live. I mean, it come out in droves. Don't you dare talk about Garth Brooks.
Right. That's right.
I'm one of those guys. Garth Brooks is my all-time favorite. I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be Garth Brooks. Everybody else was talking about Johnny Cash and Waylon and all that. And I love all those guys. But I'm like, I want to be like Garth. I want to put on that show. I want to jump off fire-burning ropes and bust out of a piano. I want to set the whole stage on fire. That's kind of how I was. But that's something that gets me. And I think a lot of the world wants to be entertained more so than sing to, because you can sing. I mean, I can sit with a guitar and I can sing and I can keep your attention for probably 30 minutes. But at some point you're going to be like, okay, what else is there to do?
Right.
But if you look up and it's like, oh my gosh, this dude just busted out a piano. Now he's swinging across on a rope ladder. And now he's doing this. I wonder what he's going to do next. You're not taking your eyes off the stage. The best example I can give is Circus Soleil. If you've ever been to a Circus Soleil show, you can't not watch because you don't know what's going to happen.
You're going to miss something.
Even I went and seen a couple of different ones more than once. And even though I'd already seen them and I knew it was coming next, I still couldn't take my eyes off the stage.
Right.
And I think I've seen Garth probably 4 or 5 times now. And even on the last tour that he did, you know, and you can kind of see where certain things are scripted and all that when you've gone a few times. But you still watch, you still can't stop looking at him because he knows. I'll tell you one more story because I was at Garth Brooks's Songwriter Hall of Fame induction. And that's when the first time I got to meet him. I got to meet him a couple of times, but I asked him another question that day. They had us do a panel, and Scott Borchetta was running it, and I got to put up my hand and ask him a question. And I said, "Man, you know how you do that thing where you open up your eyes, and it looks like you're looking the entire crowd and all in the eye at the same time?" I was like, "How do you do that?" He's like, "I feel like you know how to look every single person in the eye at the same time." And I said, "What was the first time that made you open your eyes like that or made you do that?" And he said, "Man," he goes, "I was 16 and I was at the local pool and so-and-so, the lifeguard." I was like, and he goes, "No, I'm just kidding." He said, he goes, "I went to see Queen in concert and I was standing in my chair the entire time." He said, "People wanted me to sit down, but I couldn't. I was standing up in my chair just hoping that Freddie Mercury would look me in the eye." He goes, "And as I'm standing there with my eyes wide open, he looks me right in the eye." And he goes, "You could feel the energy explode from him to me and to the whole crowd." He said, "So when I'm up there," he goes, "I go around every single venue and I go to every part of the venue to see how is somebody going to be looking at the stage from this point and from that point, and from the furthest way away to the closest one to the far off obscure right or the left or behind me." He goes, "And I just try to make sure that I find the one person that's waiting for me to look at them. And I find their eyes even for just a second, and it explodes, and it creates the whole crowd. The energy blows up from there, you know." He said, and so he goes, "The first time it happened to me, I knew that was what I wanted to be as an entertainer." So,
wow, that's pretty amazing. That's the difference between an artist and an entertainer.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know, you get to that level; those are entertainers.
Some people love Bob Dylan, and they think he's the greatest songwriter of all time. I would rather listen to anybody else, but I respect the fact that he's a phenomenal lyricist, you know?
Right. No, I'm the same way. Yeah, totally. Well, man, I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
I'm not the best person to question anyways, because I love music and I love all the different genres and styles. And I think it takes so much talent to do any of them, you know, whether you're a DJ or if you're a phenomenal songwriter, if you're a spoken word artist, you know, I respect all the different talents. It doesn't mean that all of them are my cup of tea or that I'm going to listen for a long time, but I still respect the talent that it takes to do it. I can't stand screaming Megadeth raw music, but I couldn't do that for 45 seconds without losing my voice. So however they're doing it, they're talented at what they're doing. So, well, man, I appreciate you having me on the show. I follow all your stuff, and you know, I love what you do, and I think that you help a lot of young artists, guys and girls. I think you help a lot of young artists, you know, make their path through this and show them that there's more ways to make money and be successful in the industry than just getting the next record deal or being on radio. And we all love radio. We all want to be on there, but it doesn't mean that you can't have a career just because you're not one of those that gets picked to be on there.
So true. Man, thank you so much. Again, you can find his new single, The Good Life. It's available everywhere you buy or stream your music. Go get it, buy it, and stream it. Share it with somebody. You can find him everywhere on social media at Bigg Vinny Mac. That's BiggVinnyMack. Go follow him if you're not already. And Vinny, as soon as this whatever the hell it is we're going through, this pandemic gets over and we're allowed to be social again, let's go grab some coffee or something, hang out.
Heck yeah, man. I'm all in.
Thanks for joining us for the Steve Freeman Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow Steve on social media at the Steve Freeman.